So, due to the pandemic happening right now, going to the thrift store, flea markets, hell, let alone anywhere even remotely exciting, has to be put on hold. But thankfully for all of us, I did capture enough footage over the past few weeks to make this video. Might be a little short, I won't know until the editing process happens, but hey, it is what it is. I could only capture so much footage, considering what's going on right now, obviously. Before I start, I want to thank my fiance very much for creating a new outro for my channel that I absolutely love with a passion. I'm going to leave her Instagram in the description of this video. As you guys may know, she's a tattoo artist, so there's plenty of artwork to go through if you're into that. Anyway, let's get this thing started. First up, we have a mixed variety of PS2 and PC titles here. Nothing really all that fantastic. Some good stuff like Hot Shots Golf, Company of Heroes, and Bulletstorm, which I firmly believe is highly underrated for what it is. I've never seen this game before though. Uber Soldier 2 for PC. I debated on grabbing it, but then I realized that my PC doesn't have a disk drive, so yeah, that wouldn't exactly work for me. This Goodwill shockingly had an Ouya controller here for $6, but the console itself was sadly nowhere to be found. I'd love an Ouya, honestly, just to, have it for shits, even if it is a massive failure of a console. Anyway, there's no real point in me buying just a controller. Outside of that, this location had plenty of great titles like that Red Faction 2, Ridge Racer 5, Call of Duty World at War, and quite a few others that I enjoy. Hell, even those Wii workout games are pretty fun in all honesty. Problem I had is, for whatever reason, this location doubled the prices on all of their games to the point you can find most of these cheaper at Disc Replay or probably any real local used game shop. I don't really know why this one particular location is doing that. The area isn't even nice to begin with, so I don't know. This place had all their games for $5 a pop. Nothing really standing out to me. I own most of the titles already. I mean, there was a couple I would have bought, like Acme, Arsenal, and some of the Wii shovelware, but not for $5 each. Scooby-Doo First Frights. I've never heard of this one before. Same with Pop Cap Hits Volume 1. I don't know if they're worth anything, but for $2 a pop, I'll add it to my collection for sure. I mean, I've seen worse, but still, ew. This is that same Goodwill that raised the price of their games significantly, so it's kinda a crapshoot whether or not the games in here are worth spending $5 each on. This Combat Elite Paratrooper game isn't even that bad, and neither is Midtown Madness 3. I think it's fairly enjoyable. I do own them already, but it's still nice to come across them instead of the regular titles I often see. I thoroughly enjoyed DJ Hero, more so than really any of the other music-based games that require a controller peripheral like Guitar Hero or Rock Band. The controller wasn't even expensive, but I still have mine at home in the closet in its original packaging. Regardless, it put a smile on my face when I came across it. I can't help but love these old radios. Old electronics in general are just interesting to me. This is an old JCPenney branded radio from possibly the 60s. I only assume that based off the model number on the back having 1960 on it. I couldn't find any info on this radio online. Regardless, the thing still works perfectly fine. The speakers are a little junky, but in a pinch it'll get you by no problem. Oh wow, a sharp view camera. I used to see these from time to time back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. They don't produce fantastic video by any means, but they were cheap, and most people bought them for home movies, so they did the job. Them wanting $30 nowadays for just the camcorder itself is absolutely ludicrous though. Back when I first started my YouTube channel, I used a Dazzle to record gameplay off of. Hell, most people did, since that's what was readily available and affordable at the time. Some people also used to stick a good quality camera or camcorder on a tripod and mount it right in front of their TVs. I was in fact one of those people, and those were some very dark times. A Vivitar 600 point-and-shoot camera from the 70s, I believe. Kinda reminds me of a camera a spy might have carried on them, considering how tiny this little guy is. And if I recall correctly, these cameras actually take pretty damn good photos for what it's worth. I guess I've been on a real camera kick lately because it's something my dad was always into. We always looked at cameras at the flea market, and he's bought like dozens of old vintage ones. And when he passed away, my mom gave me a couple from his collection that him and I both loved. Not to bring that on like a real sad note, it just kind of brings back a lot of good memories. Our luck hasn't been so great at the thrift store, so I figured I'd hit up my regular pawn shop down by where my fiance gets her tattoo supplies from. Right off the bat, I was excited. Most of the PS4 and Xbox One games were $10 a pop. Immediately I had to think, oh shit, what do I already own and what's worth buying for that price? I haven't kept up on price values on current gen games, so I was a little hesitant to bite the bullet on a lot of titles here, simply because I was afraid of overpaying. I did, however, pick up that collector's edition of Rocket League, and I thought about grabbing Ark for the Xbox One, but I put it back simply for the fact I know I'll never play it, because I haven't touched my Xbox One in like 2 or 3 years. There was a couple others in the bunch I wish I would have grabbed, like PUBG, and maybe even that Mafia 3 game, despite it being known as pretty god-awful. But then I came over to the other side and saw that all the PS3 and 360 games were $2 each. I always say for a buck or two, grab everything and anything you don't own. This pawn shop had shockingly a lot of great games in general, so I had no problem coming up with a good stack of games. I'm kicking myself a little bit because there were a few other games I should have grabbed, like Blazing Angels, Dead Space 3, and Red Faction Guerrilla, but hey, it is what it is. I've played this bowling game before. It was okay, but nothing really beats Wii Sports or even Wii Sports Resort if you have the Motion Plus attachment. An old friend of mine used to collect these. They're glass or porcelain insulators that you see on top of telephone poles. I guess these can be worth a ton of money, but I absolutely have zero knowledge of what makes them valuable or what makes them worthless. A 3-speed record player by Jensen. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was not old whatsoever. Not that it really matters, but it did look ridiculously cheaply made, and that was a big problem for me. Then, after flipping it over, I realized, well, yeah, I was right, it was made in 2015, and after going on eBay, I saw that these rarely sell used, and if they do, it's under 25 bucks. I'm sure it works perfectly fine, but I'd rather spend the money on a fantastic budget turntable like an Audio-Technica LP60. We went back to that pawn shop after about 2 weeks just for shits. They still had that same $10 deal on the PS4 games. I decided to pick up a few titles I've been meaning to grab for a while now, such as Neo, the Mega Man Collections 1 and 2, and Dissidia. I could have grabbed more games, but I saw that they had a bass guitar amp for 30 bucks. I've been needing an amp for a while now, so considering the price was good, I picked up that instead of more games. I'm pretty sure this is a Polaroid Impulse 600 from 1989. I've never been a big fan of instant film cameras, in all honesty. My father was the exact same way. Not that I would call them crappy or anything, that's not it at all. I would just rather get a camera that can take better quality pictures and have the film developed in a professional lab than deal with instant film that, in my opinion, doesn't take nearly as good quality pictures. But the whole gimmick of these Polaroids was instant gratification, and for what they are, they definitely get the job done, and they're still used today, believe it or not. Alrighty everyone, that's going to do it for this weird coronavirus edition of Thrift Store and I guess Pawn Shop Game Hunting. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I've been trying my best to find as many games as I could without it basically being a bitch fest where I complain about sports titles or finding nothing but garbage, while at the same time, I've been trying to come across more interesting things that I find on my trips. I feel like it makes the videos more enjoyable compared to the videos being much shorter and just being straight game stuff the entire time. In a way, you guys can learn more about me as well and my interests. Anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.